feel like even maybe in a smaller church, this could be, really important. I mean, you guys all lead large churches, but I think whether you're a church of 200 or 500 or 1,000, like this really matters. And so you see Michael Eisner, who used to be the CEO of Disney, said, in every business, in every industry, management does matter. And I feel like the word management in the last 30 years has gotten a bad rap. So I'm going to give you some quotes that I've pulled out of some leadership books. Peter Drucker, so much of what we call management consists in making it difficult for people to work. Peter Drucker again, management is doing things right. Leadership is doing the right things. Kathy Austin, managers light a fire under people, leaders light a fire in people. Oh, that's inspiring. The manager, Warren Bennis, writes a lot on, manager focuses on systems and structures, the leader focuses on people. The manager relies on control, the leader inspires trust. No wonder no one wants to be called a manager. Because for 30 years, you know what we've really said to leaders? Managers are losers and leaders are winners. That's really what we've said. And I think that is a shame, because the truth is there's a leadership function to what you do as a pastor, and there's a management function to what you do. None of us lead anything big enough that we get to give 100% of our time to just leadership. You've got to, and by the way, you've also got to have leadership even in your management. So I think we have to come back to, we've got to value both. So here's my definition. Management is the process of reaching organizational goals by working with and through people and other organizational resources. And so I just put this little template together because it was helpful for me to think about the difference. Leaders cast vision, managers implement vision. Leaders define the destination, managers build the road. Leaders live more in the future, managers live more in the now. Leaders focus on the what and the why, managers focus on the how. Leaders focus on the ends, managers focus on the means. Leaders provide inspiration, managers deliver execution. And what I would like to see is that management and leadership live in partnership and synergy, not in opposition. So, what makes a great supervisor? I think we could go around the room and there'd be a lot of different ideas around this, like, the manager or supervisor communicates well, they're respected by their team, they're organized, they care, they listen well, they run organizational interference. And I go, all those things are great, not job one. Job one of a manager is this: to get the results that the organization is looking for, or church. That's job one of the supervisor or manager, is to get the results that are in alignment with the direction and vision and mission of the church. That's job one. All the others are good attributes, not job one. And I would say job two of a great supervisor is to retain and to develop and retain the good people that get those results. So job one is it's about the results, and job two is it's about the people and the development and the recruitment of the people that are getting us to that place. And I think one of the most helpful skills that you can develop as a manager is doing an effective one-on-one meeting. So in the 4 disciplines of execution, are you guys familiar with that book? Great book. And it's not fun to read, but it is important material. But in it, they talk, here's a statistic. We have asked hundreds of thousands of employees in various industries around the globe to respond to the statement, I meet at least monthly with my manager to discuss my progress on goals. To our surprise, only 34% can respond positively to that statement, even when the review is once a month. So only 1/3 of hundreds of thousands of employees meet with their managers even once a month to talk about progress on their goals. In another book, a management book called Scrum, he says, A staggering 81% of the people surveyed said they were not held accountable for regular progress on the organization's goals. In short, people weren't even sure what the goal was, weren't committed to it, didn't know what to do about it specifically, and weren't held accountable for it. It's like, wow. So, I think as managers, we have to know how to do the dance between wearing the pastor relational leader hat and wearing the boss hat. So if you guys are familiar with Pete Scazzero, he writes Emotionally Healthy Discipleship. He talks about power and dual relationships. And the dual relationship is, I care about you, I want to, let's have community and be team and friends, but there are times when I got to wear my boss hat and supervisor hat, and I wear it unashamedly. And so I think part of that is having the boss hat on when you have these one-on-one meetings. So do you guys have the template? I've given you a template there. Yep. And again, we don't have to spend a lot of time on this, but I think I just wanted to put some stuff in your hands that you might customize to fit your church, your style, all of that. But again, there's some important data on this, that to have good, effective one-on-one meetings, you have to get them scheduled and get them on the calendar with consistency. In fact, the data would say that the effectiveness is tied to you meeting one-on-one with your direct reports with 85% frequency. In other words, there's going to be reasons that you have to miss a time, they have to miss a time, but it should be, if we looked over the course of the year, that 85% of the times you would have been scheduled to meet with a one-on-one, that you actually met with them. And so get it on the calendar. I have found, this is just Lance and my style, once a month doesn't feel frequent enough for me to meet with my direct reports. I think 2 times a month is a pretty good rhythm. And again, you may have a different thought on that for your particular environment. Also, in terms of how long, because I'm relationally wired, I want to spend a little time digging into their life and kind of taking 10, 15 minutes, just catching up on family and whatever. So I feel like 45 to 60 minutes is a good length of time. Some people go, hey, I don't do just one-on-ones, but I'll meet with 2 or 3 people and we do a group sort of meeting, and that may work for you. Another just kind of ancillary point here for me is that I have found it important as a supervisor, and this goes a little bit to Ali's point, I take notes during our meeting. And I let the person know, and eventually they just get used to it, they know it. But initially when I'm beginning to meet with someone, I let them know, like, hey, I'm going to be taking some notes so that I can remember what we've talked about, key things that you need to take away, some key things I need to take away. And so I'm going to be taking some notes on the meeting. And then you see in the template, personal check-in, encouragement and affirmation. So I'm trying ahead of time to go, what's one thing I want to encourage them in? And maybe I found them doing something right or heard a good report from somebody else, and I want to affirm them. Follow up from the last one-on-one. So I'm filling this out prior to my meeting, putting down the 2 or 3 things that we had talked about that I want to make sure we follow up on. Priority update. This is their opportunity to talk about any issues they want to talk through. And by the way, the data says you should let the employee go first rather than the supervisor, because often when the supervisor goes first, they take up all the time. And so you want to give the person you're supervising the opportunity to bring their issues up. So let me tell you this quick story. It fits here on this whole issue of priority. So I was in Tampa, Florida. I was doing a meeting about priorities and objectives, and I asked everybody to write down their top 3 priorities for the next 30 days. And so a guy was there, and he wrote down his top 3 priorities, and then he had the idea, he goes, I supervise 3 other people on the staff. I'm going to write down what I think their next 3 priorities should be for the next 30 days. So the next week, he called them all in, and he says, hey, I want you to bring your list that we did during staff meeting and bring it with you. And he said, for all 3 of them, I was absolutely shocked at what they wrote down and how different it was than what I thought they should be working on. And then he said to me in the follow-up email, that wasn't their fault, that was my fault. If they didn't have a clear sense of priority, he said, that was on me as their supervisor. And he said, so I am working hard to make sure that people have clear priorities. And can I also just say this kindly but clearly? A job description is not a priority tool. A job description is usually a hiring tool. It tells people what their role is, kind of where they're going to fit on the team, where they're fit in the org structure. A job description doesn't tell me what I'm doing this Tuesday. But if I have clear priorities, now some things are ongoing, recurring things, like Sunday's always coming in church, right? But there are some things that are special projects, or we're going to do a training, or a student camp is coming up. And so to get really clear around what is it that this person needs to be working on. In the template, you see, what does this person need from me? So here's some questions I ask, and I'm happy to send you my notes if you guys don't want to write all this down. Here's some questions I ask at this point. What's challenging or frustrating to you right now? What do you wish you could spend more time doing? And how can I help? What is a distraction for you? And I use that question to help me know, how can I run organizational interference for them? How can I clear the path so that they can be focused? And then, how can I support you or lead you better? So those are some questions that I, from time to time, throw in there. And then I also have, near the bottom there, issues I want to cover. Because I tend to be too diplomatic, sometimes I'm not clear. And I've been working on in recent years, like being clear about what I'm saying. And in my head, I have this little saying. I said, Lance, you can be kind and clear. You don't have to choose. But often I'm kind. So Susan Scott, in her book, Fierce Conversations, she says, one of our problems as nice leaders is we put so many pillows around the message we're trying to communicate that the message gets lost. And I've done that my whole life. And so I'm trying to be really clear. And so I'm trying to set clear expectations. Not like, hey, this is just a good suggestion or a nice idea. So this couple I work with in Florida, they lead this gigantic church. And they're so nice that it takes a while for the staff to learn that when they make a suggestion, it's not really a suggestion. It's a mandate. And I'm just trying to go, no, and I keep coaching them. You just need to be clear. Tell them exactly, like, this isn't just like a possible idea. No, you actually want them and actually expect them to get done, because here's what I've learned. Unclear expectations are just resentments waiting to happen. Wow. Unclear expectations are just resentments waiting to happen. All right, then the last two things there, I won't comment on these, just agreed upon action steps, you get that, and then I try to have some little moment of prayer with them.